Hi, Deidre here from Our Upcycled Life, and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to share with you some of my favorite thrift store transformations from the past year. As an avid thrifter and upcycler, I love finding hidden gems at the secondhand store and giving them new life. And I can't wait to show you some of the amazing transformations that I was able to achieve this year. So we have lots of work. Let's get started. We're just going to get right at it. This is one of my favorite upcycles of the year. This is a letter or a bill holder, and I'm going to transform it into a charging station for my cell phones. I always see these at the thrift store when I'm out and about. So if you see one, grab it and make one of these projects because they're so handy. I have mine actually set up right beside my desk. This took 2 coats of my homemade chalk paint. I sanded it a little bit before I painted it, and then I let it dry completely. And then I'm adding some graphics using my Mod Podge reverse graphic transfer method. I designed these graphics and then I printed them off on my laser jet printer, added some Mod Podge, and put them exactly where I wanted them on this vintage bill holder. Let it sit for 24 hours, dampen it with a little bit of water, rubbed off all the paper, and this is what we're left with. Now we need a spot to put our cords through, so I got my drill and I drilled a hole in the side so we could string them through, and then I sealed it all up with some engine enamel so it was nice and durable. Put through my chargers. We're ready to hang it on the wall. This is so practical and one of my favorite thrifting projects that I did this year. I found this wasp catcher and I wanted to upcycle it for a friend of mine that was a bee lover. I mixed together some of my baking powder paint. If you have not tried the baking powder paint, now it's different than the baking soda paint, you need to give it a try. It creates a real fluffy texture on your DIY projects. Earlier in the year, I put together a booklet of all of my favorite paint recipes. It's a great resource and it's nice that you can print it off and have all the recipes right in front of you. I'll put the link to that booklet down in the description and you can grab that if you want to try out any of my paint recipes that I love to use all the time. This little project took 3 coats of my baking powder paint and look at the texture. I absolutely love it and I think it looks like a little beehive. I'm going to add a little tag to it. I have a piece of MDF that I painted with some black and then I put on some white chalk paint distressed around the edges. Added my honey graphic, which I think is really cute, and I'm going to do the Mod Podge reverse graphic on it. Rubbed off all the paper. I painted in the little bee with a little bit of yellow, added it to the top, and how adorable is this? I absolutely loved the outcome of this thrift store box that I upcycled. I don't even know what it was before. It had this foam on the top, was really dirty. I took off all of the hardware, removed the top. I'm going to save the top for another project, and the hardware I'm going to tuck away too for another DIY. I'm going to sand this box completely so my chalk paint will adhere to it better. And I needed to fill in some little holes too, so I took some filler, filled them all in, and then once it was dry, I got out my candle wax. I'm gonna do my candle wax distressing technique on this. There's nothing more satisfying than finding something old or used or worn out at the thrift store and me spotting it and being able to know that I can upcycle it and give it a new life. And so many of these projects were just disregarded and were ready to be donated or even end up at the landfill, and I've been able to upcycle these into something beautiful again, and I love that feeling. So this box I painted with some black homemade chalk paint, and I put on some candle wax, and then I painted it with some white homemade chalk paint, and I heated up the wax a little bit when it was all dry, scraped it away, and it gives that beautiful distressed look. Adding my Mod Podge graphics, I printed off this graphic on my laser jet printer, making sure to reverse it, and I'm adding my Mod Podge. I'm going to place it on my project exactly where I want it and let it sit for 24 hours. All the graphics that I've used on any of my projects are available in my Etsy store. If you want to grab them, you can check that out. I'll put the link down below in the description. This is sat for 24 hours. I dampened it with a little bit of water, rubbing off the paper, and we're going to be left with a beautiful graphic on our thrifted box. Had these old spindles in my stash, I'm going to add them to the bottom of the box with some screws. Seal it up with some polyacrylic sealer, and this is what I've created. I love picking up glass jars and bottles at the thrift store, but sometimes it's nice just to have something that's a little bit different than just the clear glass. I love tinting it, and I've got a fantastic tutorial on how to tint glass using some food coloring and Elmer's school glue. I have a full tutorial. I'll put the link for that down below in the description, and you can check that out for the recipe on how to mix it together. I've put these together, incorporated it really well. I'm going to pour it into my glass jar. You want to have it so it's nice and thin, so it's going to spread all around your glass jar. And we're going to keep twirling it until it's covered the whole inside. Now this is for decorative only. You can't put water in this or it will peel off, but they still look beautiful displayed on their own, or you can put some dried flowers in them, and it looks like an authentic old amber bottle. I've printed off a farmhouse graphic that I had on some coffee stained paper. I'm just taking a marker to just kind of make it look a little bit distressed around the edges, and we're going to decoupage this right on top of that glass bottle. And I've taken a plain boring glass jar and turned it into a beautiful piece of farmhouse decor. I love this thrifted upcycle, and it's super simple. An old colander that I found at the thrift store and a candlestick holder. We're gonna get out our E6000 and we're just gonna glue the two together. But before I glue them all together, I decided I wanted the candlestick holder to be black. So I got out my black homemade chalk paint and I just gave it a light coat, and then I got the E6000, put it all around the lip of that candlestick holder. We're going to place that colander on top of it, and we've created a beautiful centerpiece for a table using some thrifted finds, and I think it looks gorgeous with some faux plants, or you can put a real plant in it. Beautiful upcycle. I love Mirror Effect spray. This stuff is fabulous. I've got this old frame that I found at the thrift store. I picked up some Mirror Effect. I'll put the link for this product down below. You have to have this in your craft room stash. I wanted to kind of distress the frame a little bit, so I just dry brushed on some of my black homemade chalk paint, and I added a little bit of candle wax too, just so I could give it more of a distressed look. Brushed on a little tiny bit of acrylic gold paint, and then went back and just dabbed on some white chalk paint, and I think it just kind of took it to the next level. Took some sandpaper, and anywhere that I added a little bit of that wax, it's going to chip it down to that next color. Gorgeous. Now we're going to get this Mirror Effect spray paint working. We've got that piece of glass from the frame. We're going to squirt our glass with a little bit of water and vinegar. I have a full tutorial on how to use this properly. I'll put that link below down in the description. And then I'm spraying on top of that vinegar and water with the Mirror Effect spray paint. We don't want to let it dry. We're going to go back in with a paper towel and just dab it up and down. And this product gives you a vintage mirror look. We're going to add a second coat, and you're not going to believe the results of this. So if you have some old vintage picture frames that you want to turn into an antique faux mirror, try this product out. Another thrift store makeover. I've got an old cutting board and a little wooden box that had some toll painting on it. We're going to incorporate these two together and make an upcycled, beautiful piece of home decor. I'm going to add the wooden box onto the bottom of that cutting board, and I'm going to use my E6000. I love the E6000, but I also hate when it gets to the bottom. I have a really easy hack to fix that. If you haven't seen my hacks video, I'll put that down below in the description. You can check that out. Some great crafting tips there. I'm using my candle wax to create a chippy finish, painting it with my black homemade chalk paint, letting that dry, going back in again with my candle wax. And this candle wax is just a pillar candle that I picked up at the dollar store. Broke it in half, works fantastic for this painting technique. We are doing the hairspray crackle technique on this, and it works really great for giving an authentic crackle paint look. I've sprayed it all with my firm hairspray, and then I'm taking acrylic paint, painting it on top of that, using my heat gun, and as you dry, that acrylic paint will crackle on top of that hairspray. Scraping off all over wherever I had wax, and I'm going to finish it off with one of my Mod Podge reverse graphics. Sealed it up with some polyacrylic sealer, and what do you think of this upcycle? Got an old kitchen grater and an old piece of wood that I think was a cutting board. I'm going to incorporate these two together and upcycle it into something really unique and fun to add to your farmhouse kitchen decor. I found this mirror at the thrift store, but I think it's originally from the dollar store. I'm going to take it apart and we're going to do some macrame knots around the outside of this mirror. I had this cord and I'm going to cut a whole bunch of strands the same size to go around the entire outside of the mirror frame. I've got the whole outside of the frame completely covered. I'm loving the boho feels of these, and this was such a simple DIY to put together and really reasonable because I think I picked up this mirror for 50 cents. Unraveled all the little end pieces, took my comb and fluffed it all out, measured around the outside, and then cut it so it was even all the way around. And then we're just going to put that mirror back in the back of it, and we've created a really beautiful mirror that could be a focal point in a bedroom. A wooden riser upcycle. It's got these rubber feet on the bottom. I'm going to leave them intact, but we're going to paint everything. I'm going to paint it with my black homemade chalk paint and cover it all up, and it's going to take probably 2 coats to get it completely covered. Now I've got my painter's tape and I'm going to mask off some lines on the bottom. We're going to give this a ticking stripe. Once it was completely dry, I removed the tape and I got a beautiful stripe on this riser. I distressed it around the edges, giving it a little bit of a rustic look, and I'm going to seal it up with some engine enamel. This is going to make it really durable if I want to put a plant or something on it that it might have a little bit of water get dribbled on it. Looks beautiful in the middle of a table. Now this is a really fun upcycle, a leaky Bodum coffee maker. I am going to first mask off the inside and just using some paper towel and a little bit of painter's tape because we're going to spray paint this, and I want to spray paint the top and the bottom, and I don't want to get it on the glass or any of the metal pieces. I also want to make a little hang tag for it, so I had some MDF and I painted it with some white and black chalk paint, and now I'm going to do a funky fun painting technique on this. putting some acrylic paint, just dabbing it all over in some fun, whimsical colors. Now we're gonna get out some cling wrap and place it right into that paint. This is a great painting project for your kids to do or your grandkids. Lay it right into that paint, swirl it around with your fingers, and it creates a really beautiful swirled look on any of your painting surfaces. And then I love to turn them into signs. I do have a full tutorial on this technique if you want to check it out. And then I put a graphic on top of it. Had some stones that I picked up at the dollar store. We're going to put that in the bottom of this bottom. And then I wanted to secure the plunger in the top of this bottom. So I got my heat gun out and I used my Gorilla hot glue sticks. These work fantastic and really hold a nice bond. And now it's not going to move. We're going to put that right into our bottom, and then I'm going to put in some topsoil. Try not to be messy, but I'm always messy. As you know, I'm a messy crafter. And make sure I fill it almost to the top. And then I had some beautiful succulents that I'm adding in the top of this bottom. If you're still here and you're sticking around and you've gotten this far in the video, thank you, because I have so many cool thrifting projects that I wanted to share. I couldn't choose, so I have lots in this video. Now, this one was a welcome sign that I found. It was really dated, so I spray painted it with some primer, and then I painted it with some white chalk paint, and now I'm adding a napkin. I put some Mod Podge all over the top of that sign, and now I'm just laying that napkin, just one ply, into it, and we're going to do our napkin burning technique. This is a great way to really get into all those nooks and crannies of the letters without filing or sanding them. You can use a lighter and it'll mold right into all of those letters, and it's mesmerizing to watch. Also, be careful, make sure you're doing it in a well ventilated area. I have a squirt bottle handy if it flares up, but it's a fantastic technique. I then used some E6000, put it on a piece of old baseboard that I had, and I love this upcycle, and I love this napkin. Another coat rack that I found, and I have a great idea for this one, so if you're a pet lover, stick around for this. Masked off the little hooks because I didn't want to get any overspray on them, and I spray painted the whole sign with some black spray paint. Added some wax around the edges to give it a little bit of a distressed look. And another tip when you're finding these coat racks, if you don't want to keep it as a coat rack but you need some hooks, I just got 4 hooks that were absolutely beautiful for $3.99 at the thrift store. You can take them off and add them to another DIY project down the road. I printed off the words love with a paw print, and using my Mod Podge reverse graphic transfer method, I added these graphics onto these coat rack. I let it sit for 24 hours, and now I'm rubbing off the paper and have created a really cute spot for me to keep Tina's leash and her dog coat, and I think it looks much better than the before. Found this beautiful vase, and I'm going to turn it into a cloche. I think it looks beautiful upside down. Old spindle and an old piece of plywood. Let's get to work, and I'm going to show you how I upcycled this, one of my favorites of the year. And what do you think? I love it. I added a little sign and a little vintage book and a little piece of greenery on the inside. Looks beautiful in my living room. Have you tried sand paint? Absolutely love the texture that it gives. Fantastic recipe. Like I said before, I've got that recipe book with all of my paints in it. Make sure to check that out. So I've spray painted that vase, not liking that green, with some spray primer, mixed up some beige sand paint. It's going to create beautiful texture on this vase, and I'm going to put 3 coats on and you will not believe the transformation of this. Another one of my favorite upcycles. I hope you've enjoyed today's tutorial and you've enjoyed seeing my roundup of all of my 2022 favorite thrift store upcycles. Let me know down in the comments which one was your favorite. Thanks for watching, have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video. And if you love this video, I'm sure you'll love either of these next two. Take care.